Warfel.
Here.
Dwayne Urbanski.
Here.
Dave Borchert.
Present.
Chuck Mueller.
Here.
Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Discussion and possible action on the following: approval of the 2025 financial audit. Hello, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm Greg Patel. I'm the audit partner on the engagement. You have two deliverables as a result of the audit. One is the management communications letter, and that discusses really the audit results. And then you have the annual financial report, which has the detailed financial information. So I'll start with the audit results, and then I'll touch on the financial observations. And along the way, if you have any questions for me, feel free to either stop me at that time, or I can take any questions at the end as well. So looking at the management letter on page 4, the audit is split into 2 phases. And the first phase, we evaluate your internal controls surrounding your most significant accounting processes. That's really payroll, receipts, disbursements, general journal entries. And then if we have any findings, we're required to measure those, and if they reach a certain threshold, then they're reported here, either as a material weakness or a significant deficiency. And so there are 3 material weaknesses. These are repeat findings from the prior year audit report. And at the top there, they're underlined, and segregation of duties, village of your size, very common to have this finding. And what I always tell the board is these monthly meetings where you look at disbursements, look at budget to actuals, perhaps you look at bank reconciliations. Those can be all good mitigating controls in lieu of the most ideal segregation of duties. Financial reporting, standards change back somewhere around 2012, and if the auditors prepare the annual financial report, then we are really required to disclose that as a finding back here. But we handed the report back to Stephanie, who reviewed it and accepted responsibility for the content by signing the management rep letter. And so out of the 3 findings, that one is almost kind of a disclosure in my opinion. And then material account adjustments, and a lot of those kind of relate to year-end accrual adjustments. So, any questions on the audit results? And the audit opinion contains a clean, unmodified audit opinion, which is what you're striving for in the financial statement. As far as the annual financial report, I'll start on page 8. Generically, this is your income statement for your governmental funds. And if you look at the far left column, that's your general fund, and we typically key on that because that's the operating fund for you. And if you look at the 3rd line up from the bottom, net change in fund balance, an increase in overall general fund balance of $180,000, leaving you with a $1.6 million ending fund balance. And if I could just key your attention to the total expenditures line, which is about a third, a little more than a third of the way up there. That's $1.14 million in general fund expenditures for the year. And we'll kind of take a look at that as a percent of your unassigned fund balance when we go back to the balance sheet here in a moment. I would say that from a budgetary perspective, you anticipated a $36,000 increase in the general fund, and then you had a $180,000 increase overall. If you look at that schedule, there's some capital outlay in road road projects that did not occur, and that was really the main driver, of the difference from budget to actual performance for the year. So if you look back on page 6, which is your balance sheet then, again, on the far left column there is the general fund, and what the balance sheet represents is your current assets less your current liabilities equals your fund balance. And you can see you have a little bit of non-spendable fund balance there. Fund balance is the last category on the balance sheet. And then that last line, unassigned fund balance, we always look at that because that really represents resources available to start the 26 fiscal year for you. And you're at 1.6 million. And if you think about that 1.1 million in general fund expenditures, that's about 140% of your general fund expenditures in unassigned fund balance. And from a bond rating standpoint, as well as a cash flow standpoint, 20 to 30% is considered good. Anything above 30% is considered excellent. So certainly, I think that your general fund balance is in a very good position at the end of the year. If there are questions in terms of do you have too much fund balance, I would only advise spending any fund balance on one-time expenditures so that you do not build that into your operating. Any questions on the general fund? Go ahead.
Did you throw your shoulder out?
I understand that there's some construction in progress. I can't abbreviate it because I get yelled at by non-accountants. Of about $27,000, and I was told that's for the park. What is still being built at the park? Because construction in progress, it has to move to an asset once it's done. So do we know what that construction in process of 26,750 in the governmental activities is?
For the concrete? Oh, wow. I don't think that was it.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, it was listed in the prior auditor's work paper as the Park Plaza project. And it was carrying forward from at least the beginning of 24, so 2023. So we certainly can work with Stephanie and probably capitalize that in the 26 year.
Okay.
Makes sense.
What about the tax bill?
What page was that on? You got more than that.
Huh?
You got more than that.
I'm the tax and technology person, page 1. Audit was part of the CPA exam I had to take twice.
Any other questions on general? Okay. Then we'll move on to the utility funds, and on page 11 is the income statement.
I'm sorry, what page?
Page 11.
Thank you.
Yep. So generically, I look at this as the income statement and the long-term, how are you doing? Because a component of operating expenses here is non-cash depreciation expense. So you do want to recover that because you have to replace your infrastructure as you go. And so you want to be able to have a positive result, including that non-cash depreciation expense as a component of your operating and maintenance cost. And if you look about halfway down on the page there, operating income, positive operating income in the water utility of $298,000. You did have new rates that took effect January 1 of 2025, so you can see that they're reflected there in the positive result. And then the sewer utility had a positive increase in operating income of $211,000. And then you have some non-operating items there, including investment earnings and interest expense. And then the third line up from the bottom, overall change in net position, 271,000 in the water and 234,000 in the sewer utility. On the next page is the cash flow statement on page 12. And the cash flow statement is more the near term, how are we able to fund the different categories on this statement. And the most significant is your cash flows from operating activities, which is the first section there. And overall net cash flows from operating activities in the water of 398,000, and the sewer of 267,000. You have some non-capital financing activities, but then that third section down, cash flows from capital and related financing activities, is the second most significant section of this statement here. And you can see a reinvestment in your capital infrastructure in the water of about $24,000, and in sewer of $623,000. And then you've got your principal and interest on reinvestment of prior infrastructure there, as well as some proceeds of short-term debt in sewer utility of $500,000. And then a couple lines down, change in cash and investments, a positive $213,000 in the water utility, and a positive $100,000 generated overall in the sewer utility. The cash in the water utility then of $466,000 represents just over 1 year of operating expenses from that prior page, $449,000. So typically anything from 90 to 120 days is what you're looking for cash on hand. So the water utility is in a very strong cash position at the end of the year. The sewer a little bit less so from that perspective, but it did generate positive cash overall. So with that, I would take any further questions that you have for me.
Could you provide a rating, how you think we're doing as a village overall? Can you make that comment?
Yeah, I think you're doing fine. I mean, when you look at the general fund, very strong general fund balance, from a cash flow standpoint and an operating standpoint in the water and the sewer, positive results there, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The only question I had is if we were to, can we engage with your firm for like the accrual adjustments quarterly? Would that avoid the same finding, or can it be, does it have to be a separate firm? Because of, I can't remember, maybe Stacey, you remember, if it's a separate firm or not. I think it has to be a separate firm.
Typically, we would need to consider even quarterly adjustments in there, but we're certainly willing to work with Stephanie and reduce those adjustments, and maybe we can get rid of that finding.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
You do have to approve it.
Oh,
Move it all.
no, we don't, it's all. Motion,
I'd be happy to.
thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the annual audit as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of an event organizer permit for the Random Lake Association for July 11th, 2026. Motion and multiple seconds. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of a temporary vendor permit for the Random Cup.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Recommendation of the village president related, we can skip this one. That one's on hold right now. Approval of the annual operator license for the year July seventh, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Michael Sanfilippo, Mark Slaughter, Valerian Cortez, Navin Rokoya, is that it? All right. Christopher Schmidt, and Megan Schwendel. Oh, I don't have that thing. Thank you. Tyler Fitzgerald.
Everything's okay?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the annual license for the year July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Class B and Class B retail license, RJS Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Blues Inn Sports Bar, 124 Carroll Street.
Everything's good? Now that it's in?
Yep.
I move to approve as presented. Second.
Motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry, before we do this. Cigarette, tobacco, and electronic vaping products, RJS Enterprise, DBA Blues Inn Sports Bar, 124 Carroll.
I'll make a motion to include that.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Items within the consent agenda can be considered individually if the village board chooses to do so, or do I hear any objections?
I'm not sure what that means. Can you just clarify? You're gonna approve with all of them at once now?
Yes.
Okay, I have something on the agendas. Trust, am I allowed to go now? Okay. My name is Becky Sorens, 29 East Shore Drive, Random Lake. And it's to do with village board meetings. So, trustee Werner discussed the yellow pollen discharge on the lake and complaints received from people getting sick. Werner stated that was not coming from the co-op. I am
Hang on,
requesting.
Becky, this is just approving what we have already.
Oh.
So if you have a debate over that, then you can do your 3 minutes.
If you think he said something, if you think Stephanie captured something wrong in the minutes, you can say it now.
Yes.
Otherwise, if it's respond, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, all right, okay. I requested that the minutes, accurately reflect that the statements regarding the unknown substance and its sources were made by trustee Werner and were not supported by any testing or documentation presented during the meeting. Also, assistant.
So, but the minutes were correct for what was stated.
No, because that.
That, the minutes, what he said
Oh,
was in
what
there.
he said,
Yes.
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
yes.
so that, yeah, that would have to come later.
Oh, that'll come later. Okay, thank you.
So hearing none, June 3rd, 2026 personal committee meeting minutes, June 15th, 2026 village board meeting minutes, June 22nd, 2026 through June 25th, 2026 general checks, July 7th, 2026 general checks, July 7th, 2026 restricted savings checks, July 7th, 2026 utility checks, and July 7th, 2026 fire and ambulance checks.
I was not at the June 15th meeting, just remember that.
All right, we'll take number 2 off.
Take 2 off. Everything else is good.
Are you making that motion?
Yes,
You can.
We're taking it out.
We're taking that one out.
because I wasn't at that meeting.
Neither one were either. Yeah, see, you got, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's after a holiday weekend, sorry, not as sharp.
So for number 1 and 3 through 7?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Second that.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Stay.
Opposed? Motion carries. June 15th, 2026 Village Board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Actually, that was the one we were supposed to abstain from.
Thank you.
Staff and committee reports, Village Hall.
Sure. So we had the core workshop a couple weeks ago, and we had 23 participants come to the library for that, and then we left the boards at the library. So a lot more people were able to participate in it, so we're gonna send those over to Bay Lakes and hopefully get an update at the next meeting, which is next week. Absentee ballots were received from the county, so we sent those out, and we're currently scheduling poll workers for the August election. I've been meeting with some credit card service companies, potentially to get better rates and new equipment for down at the concession building. Let's see, we've been selling quite a bit of season parking passes down at the concessions too, so glad the word is getting out with that. We put the flyers up in the new display boards and on the bathrooms. For upcoming, I'll have to send Rachel a notice, but her tidbit is due next week. Just be prepping for the RLA event for this weekend down at the concession building. We are also gonna be reviewing where we're at for the season for parking and concessions, and then sometime this month we'll probably have a Lake Park Rec Committee meeting. And then lastly, just preparing the second quarter reports for the financials.
Anybody have anything for?
You're gonna report on how we're doing. Can you just give me your estimate? Are we doing better this year than last year with parking? You said annual permits are up a little bit.
Yeah, this is the first year we started with those annual parking passes, and I think we probably sold just under 10, but they're trickling in here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really been keeping track of it yet. We
Okay.
kind of wait till like after the 4th, because that's the biggest weekend, so I'll probably be doing that this week.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Anything else? Peter?
Since last meeting, aside from our normal day-to-day operations, we had several water meter repairs around the village, with radios and actual meters, several new hookups, 2 new houses being put on services. We had a number of issues with both of our lift stations over the last few weeks, so we've been battling some things with them, just aged components, going out, mostly electronic stuff, but, got them worked through. We had an issue at the wastewater treatment plant, last weekend, early in the morning. We had a line blow in the plant and flooded out the basement. We were able to do all the repairs ourselves. It wasn't as bad as normal, but, or as some of the other ones, but it was still a setback, but we had everything repaired, everything's back up and running. It was nothing that needed to be fixed immediately. It was just getting water pumped in the digesters and ordering some parts, getting the line repaired, we had our spare motors on the shelf. So it was a matter of a couple days, labor-wise, just fixing things, but we were 100% back to normal. Nothing leaked outside, it was just contained in the basement. But old piping that burst, it was water lines going to the press building, so, but it's all fixed. Dave's a rock star. It's very good having him, on staff, that we can do a lot of stuff and fast, in-house, so that helps. I mean, the other guys too, but having someone that has an electrical background like that is huge. Let's see, we've been ripping out some of the stumps around town. We got a little setback with the treatment plant, we haven't been able to be back on, but we hope to get back on those again. We did have 2 water main breaks on Lake Drive. sure some of you saw that. One was an older one that we knew about, we were able to isolate it, and then wait till we had time to fix it, and when we did fix it and turned it back on, it blew in another place, so it's just the aging of that Lake Drive water line being one of the oldest in the village, it's not in good shape. So, but we had two of them very close to each other. Luckily, we were able to isolate them and really not affect anybody without water, because no one was in that section. So it was actually a nice fix to do, without putting anybody really out. Some people, I know there was a few, we tried to flush it as best we could. There was some complaints about some brown water around town, so we did go back out and we flushed pretty much the whole village after that. That should've got it out. Sometimes those can send a slug of rust, you know, in direction. We thought we had it all, but, a couple days later, we got some complaints, so we did go out and reflush the whole, then we flushed the whole village, pretty much all over. And that seemed to take care of it. We've been doing a lot of watering, you know, with the new grass, trees. I'm trying to keep the grass in the park nice, cause I think if we didn't, it would be dead. But it's not looking too bad. We got our next, round of lead line reminders out for the DNR and the EPA as far as all the unknowns that we have, but we got everything out in our timeline we were supposed to for the DNR. Upcoming, we'll be preparing for a mastic on Jesse. We're planning on, well, it'll be a couple weeks yet, but, we're working with Fredonia. We'll be prepping for mastic on Jesse Lane. We'll be, you know, blowing out cracks and that, getting ready to apply the mastic the week of, 13th, July 13th, and then the following week, we will be renting a mastic melter and then working on Jesse and then hopefully some on Orr, depending on how much material we have. Finish our stump grinding or our stump removals. We wanna get going on some valve turning. And then, it seems all of our investigative work for the road project is pretty much done. So, they have all the storm sewer and sewers we were, cammering and looking at. And then, we got some pallet racking that we're trying to set up in the storage building to try to get a little more organized over there. And hopefully that, we kinda save that for rainy days, when we're looking for something to do inside, so we haven't been able to work on that much, but hopefully soon. And that's all I have for now.
We all set for, barricades and all that?
Oh,
for-
yeah,
for Friday?
We'll be setting up, yeah, that was one of the things I missed on, yeah, we'll
And
be
then
setting
we
up
had
on
it set up,
Friday,
Jeff,
Thursday and Friday.
Somebody's gonna be taking those down, right? And then just picking them up on Monday, or what are we doing with that?
They just pull them off to the corner and then we'll pick them up on
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just let them sit there, right?
Yep, just kinda like we do for the other.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a stump removed tour, did you report on that? How long did that take you? I'm just curious.
To pull that stump out? It was a few hours, it was pretty big. It's a big stump, yeah.
Can you give us any update on the, lift station on the east side, how that's going?
Yeah,
The
so
pumps are waiting
the
for-
delays, so the new pump is, I don't have it here yet, but supposedly it's coming. My delay right now is We Energies. So they are scheduled not to be out here till, I believe the 18th. That was what I was told, 18th or 20th. And hopefully then the gas and the electric will be in. And then right now, the tentative test date for firing up and doing the test on the new lift station is the 27th. For all the contractors to be there and go through the performance test so right now what we're really waiting on is power. So there was some confusion on where it was going in the building. Seemed pretty minute, but We Energies is not the easiest to work with. So yeah, that's tentative right now. I had a meeting with them a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, finally to get straightened out what's the holdup. And so that was the tentative date, was like 17th or July. I thought they said July 17th, 18th, somewhere in there was proposed, or which probably will put it into like the 20th. And then, like I say, our startup for the contractors, for all the electricians, and then the automation part they have in the pumps. Their test date is set up for July 27th.
And then how many weeks or days after that do you expect
As soon
completion
as
of
that, if
cleanup
that
and-
all passes, like everything works right in the lift station, then they should be able to finish the underground. They got about, I don't know, 100 feet of pipe still. They have to reroute or basically reroute it away from the old lift station, that it goes to the new lift station. And they can't do that until they know this one works, or that it's proven that it's tested that it works. And then they can eliminate the piping going to the old lift station and then dismantle it. And then once that's all done, then they can restore the road. So unfortunately, we are definitely probably a month or more before it's gonna be, they can start restoring it. But I'm hoping by the end of this month, they'll be back, getting it all hooked up, and then we can get the road paved and the yards.
And the old lift station, will that be completely removed or just buried
Mhm.
over or just completely taken out?
I believe the top comes off,
Okay.
everything comes out of it. The pipes will be rerouted. The wet well becomes a manhole, so that'll be a little different there. It just becomes a manhole. And then, the oldest station, I think they cut the top of it off and they pull all the components out, and then I fill it with slurry. And then it's just, there won't be anything in it, it'll be empty. And they'll just fill it, would be my guess.
Okay.
Peter,
And then-
have we heard from the DNR about further progress for our new treatment
I haven't heard
plant,
anything
or-
from Tom, if Tom heard anything back from them yet.
Nothing yet, and he's now on vacation this week.
Yeah, he's on vacation.
What is our hopefully timeline?
Last time I talked to him, he spoke with the DNR gentleman, and that guy just got back from vacation, and we're on the list to be looked at.
Okay.
But after the incident down there, I spoke with Tom, this last incident, so he referred back to DNR saying we need to expedite this, because we're having multiple issues, so we gotta get something.
We've just been dragging now
Right.
for a while, so if we can expedite it, that's great, thank you.
Do you think they want us to keep going?
Well, that's why I referred it back, that, now we have another issue. Anything else for Peter? Well, you guys pretty much talked on what I was gonna talk about. We're gonna have the update on the lift state, or the wastewater plant. There's really nothing to say for that. Road projects, we're going to be doing the bids next week, possibly,
The 14th.
14th. So we'll get the bids for the work on the road projects, and we'll have more coming after that. Public comments on non-agenda items, limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Please state your name and address. No back and forth commentaries allowed during this item, as the public comment item being addressed is not listed on the agenda.
Stacy Schlickerman, 243 Christine's Way. And Chuck, I appreciate you asking. Yeah, overall, when I look at the financial statements, they look good. But I wanna highlight some things on the expense side, and my printer didn't cooperate, or you don't have a piece of paper. There's a lot of swings, and some of them, it feels to me like at the end of the day, we know we've gotta fit a square peg in a square hole, not in a round hole, so sometimes we have to shave something, but I don't think we're necessarily shaving the right things. As an example, law enforcement. That contract is in every year, well in advance of budget. And we were over, I deal in percentages all the time because I think that gives you a better example. We were over 16.6% on our law enforcement. So either we put a bad number in the budget or we did something like that, but our law enforcement for 2025 was budgeted at 53,284 and we spent 62,108. We go down to culture and rec. We missed that bogey big time. That was I gotta follow my lines here, that was a 10.6 increase in expenses over what we had budgeted. And when you look, you go, oh, well, we went under by $6,700 on parks. But you added a new line for $18,350 for swimming areas. So if I net those two together, because you probably carved that out to give a better example, in that area, you were over by a bunch. So I think, Dave, you've done a really good job this year with having those quarterly budget to actuals. I think that's gonna help you as well. But as you're setting the budget this year, I'm going to implore you again to really look at where you stand. And you're gonna have those numbers real time and say, is this something that we've trended over the last 3 years to miss the mark on? Then that's not an area that we can go lower, we have to go higher than what we spent last year.
Thank you.
Okay, back to Becky Sorens, 29 East Shore Drive. So I'll just start over. Trustee Warner discussed the yellow pollen discharge on the lake and complaints received from people getting sick. Warner stated that was not coming from the co-op, and I believe that's what's stated in the minutes. So I was requesting the minutes accurately reflect that the statements regarding the unknown substance and its source were made by Trustee Warner and were not supported by any testing or documentation presented during the meeting. So also, since Mr. Warner reported on environmental and health concerns during the last public village meeting, I am requesting the specific testing, inspection results, or agency documentation that supports it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Discussion on future agenda items? Anybody have anything?
Just we'll have a public works when you get that for it.
Well, you know what to do if you need something on the agenda. And with that, we are adjourned.